Captain Zephala pressed her thin, feathered hands against the cold metal of the communication console, her large, dark eyes filled with tears as she watched the security monitors. The Scar raiders were getting closer to the communication room. She could hear their claws clicking on the floor outside. Mining colony on the moon Serenity had been peaceful for 20 years. The Cathari people were gentle. They had hollow bones like birds and stood only 4 feet tall. Their home world had low gravity and thin air. They were not made for fighting, but the Skarn were different. These bug-like aliens were born to fight and kill. They had hard shells on their bodies and sharp claws. Their black eyes showed no mercy. They came to steal the valuable crystals that the Cathari had been mining from the moon. 3 days ago, the Skarn ships had appeared in the sky above Serenity. They came without warning. The colony had only basic defenses. The few security guards carried small energy weapons that could barely hurt the armored raiders. Zephala remembered the first attack. The Skarn had dropped from their ships like a dark cloud. They moved fast and killed without hesitation. Men, women, and children tried to run, but the raiders were faster. Within hours, most of the colony was dead or captured. Now only 12 Cathari were left alive. They had locked themselves in the communication center. In the middle of the colony, the thick metal walls had kept them safe so far. But the Skarn were cutting through the door with their plasma torches. Soon, they would break through. Zephala looked at the other survivors. Old Tashera was holding her grandson close to her chest. The little boy was only 5 years old. His parents were dead. Engineer Colvin was trying to fix their broken weapons, but his hands were shaking too much. Dr. Nexve was taking care of the wounded, but there was little she could do. Without proper medical supplies, the communication console beeped. Zephala turned back to it and began typing the distress message. Her fingers moved quickly across the alien symbols. She had to get the message out before the Skarn broke through. She typed in the common galactic language that all space traveling races could understand. The message was simple but desperate. They needed help. They needed someone to come and save them. The Galactic Council had peacekeeping ships, but they were far away. It would take weeks for them to arrive, but maybe someone else would hear the call. Maybe some merchant ship or explorer would be close enough to help. It was their only hope. The distress signal went out across all frequencies. It traveled through space at the speed of light, carrying the desperate plea of a dying people. The signal told anyone who could hear it that innocent people were being killed. It gave the location of Serenity and asked for immediate help. Far across space, the signal reached a human monitoring station called Horizon's Edge. The station was built on a large asteroid in empty space between star systems. Its job was to watch for dangerous asteroids and listen for distress calls from human ships. Lieutenant Kate Murphy was finishing her night shift at the communication center. She was tired and ready to go home. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she kept drinking it anyway. Working the night shift meant dealing with static and background noise from deep space. Most of the time, nothing important happened, but tonight was different. Kate was checking the last set of signals when she heard something strange. It was not the usual radio noise from distant stars. This was a pattern, a message. She sat up straight and turned up the volume on her headset. The signal was weak and broken, parts of it were missing or unclear, but Kate could tell it was a distress call. She had heard many distress calls from human ships over the years. This one was different. The language was not human, but the computer could translate it. Kate's hands moved quickly over her controls. She cleaned up the signal and ran it through the translation program. Slowly, the alien words became English on her screen as she read the message. Her face went pale. The message told of a peaceful mining colony under attack. It talked about people being killed by raiders. It asked for help. It gave coordinates for a star system that Kate had never heard of. This was first contact. This was proof that humans were not alone in the galaxy. And somewhere out there, people were dying. Kate reached for her communication device and called her commanding officer, Colonel Ryan Price. The colonel was asleep in his quarters, but this could not wait until morning. The device beeped 3 times before a tired voice answered. This better be important, Murphy. Kate took a deep breath. Sir, I think you need to get down here right away. I've received a distress call from what appears to be an alien species. There was silence on the other end for a moment, then Colonel Price's voice came back much more awake. Say that again, Lieutenant. Kate repeated the message and explained what she had found. Within 10 minutes, Colonel Price was in the communication center, still wearing his sleep clothes. He read the translated message 3 times before he believed it. How far away is this system? He asked. Kate checked her star charts. About 6 days by hyperspace jump, sir, but we don't have any combat ships here. This is just a monitoring station. Colonel Price nodded. He knew that the nearest human military base was 2 days away. The UES Defiance was stationed there. It was a heavy cruiser with 200 crew members and enough firepower to handle most threats. He picked up the secure communication device and called the military base. Within minutes, he was speaking to Captain Jake Morrison, the commanding officer of the Defiance. Captain Morrison was a veteran of many battles. He had served in the human military for 20 years and had never backed down from a fight. He was tall and strong with gray hair and scars on his hands from old battles. His crew respected him because he cared about doing the right thing. Captain Morrison, we have a situation, Colonel Price explained. We've received what appears to be a distress call from an alien species. They're under attack by another alien race and asking for help. There was no hesitation in Morrison's voice. Send me the coordinates, Colonel. We'll leave immediately, within 2 hours. The UES Defiance was ready to jump to hyperspace. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge with his first officer, Commander Lisa Brooks. She was young but smart, and Morrison trusted her judgment completely. Commander Brooks looked at the star charts on the main screen. The alien system was marked with a red dot. Sir, we don't know anything about these aliens. They could be hostile. This could be a trap. Captain Morrison nodded. That's possible, Commander, but someone is asking for help. If we ignore distress calls, what kind of people are we, the bridge crew, prepared for the hyperspace jump? Chief Engineer Bob Martinez made sure the engines were running perfectly. Navigation Officer Sue Williams calculated the exact course to the alien system. Weapons Officer Carl Johnson checked all the ship's guns and missiles as the Defiance entered Hyperspace, none of the crew knew they were about to make history, they thought. They were just answering a distress call. Like any decent person would do, they had no idea that they were about to become the first humans to meet an alien race, and they had no idea that the peaceful galaxy was about to meet the Deathworlders. The UES Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Serenity star system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and looked at the main screen. What he saw made his jaw tighten with anger. 3 massive alien ships hung in space above the small moon. They were twice the size of the Defiance. Their dark holes were covered with weapon ports and armor plating. These were not exploration ships or traders. These were warships, built for one purpose: to destroy and kill. Commander Lisa Brooks worked at her station, her fingers flying over the controls. Numbers and data filled her screen as the ship's computers analyzed the enemy vessels. "Sir, I'm reading 3 heavy cruisers," she reported. "They outgun us 5-1, maybe 6-1. Their weapons are focused on the moon's surface. They're bombing the colony." Morrison watched the tactical display. Bright flashes of light appeared on the moon's surface as the alien ships fired their weapons. Each flash meant more death and destruction for the peaceful people below. "What's their formation?" Morrison asked. Brooks studied the enemy ships. "They're arranged for surface bombardment, sir. All their weapons are pointing down at the moon. They're not watching for ships coming from deep space." Morrison nodded. Enemy had made a mistake, they thought. They were safe. They thought no one would come to help the people they were killing. "Launch all fighters," Morrison ordered. "Tell Major Tony Richards to prepare for a full assault. We're going to hit them hard and fast." Defiance's fighter bay opened and 12 small ships flew out into space. H fighter was piloted by a human who had trained for years to fly in combat. They moved in perfect formation like a flock of deadly birds. Major Richards led the fighter squadron. He was young but experienced. He had fought space pirates before, but never alien warships. His fighter was fast and armed with missiles and energy weapons. "All fighters, this is Phoenix Leader," Richards spoke into his radio. "We're going to hit the closest ship. First, stay tight and follow my lead." On the moon's surface, Captain Zila heard explosions getting closer to the communication center. The Skarn had almost broken through the outer door. She held her energy pistol in her shaking hands, but she knew it would not stop the armored raiders. Old Teshara was singing a soft song to her grandson, trying to keep the boy calm. The child did not understand what was happening. He just knew that everyone was scared. Suddenly, new signals appeared on Zephala's sensors. Ships were approaching the Skarn fleet. But these were not Galactic Council vessels. The ships were different. They moved in ways she had never seen before. The human fighters screamed through space at incredible speed. They flew faster than any ship Zephala had ever seen. The fighters moved like they were alive, turning and twisting in ways that should have been impossible. Lieutenant Amy Chen was the youngest pilot in the squadron. She was only 23 years old, but she flew her fighter like she had been born in space. Her ship dove between the Skarn vessels, dodging their weapon fire with ease. The Skarn ships began firing at the human fighters. Their weapons were designed to destroy large, slow targets. But the human ships were small and fast. The Skarn gunners could not hit them. Amy saw an opening in the enemy ships. Shields, it was a small gap, barely wide. Enough for her fighter, any normal pilot would have called it impossible, but humans were not normal. She pushed her fighter to maximum speed and dove through the gap. The edges of her ship came within inches of the enemy's shield generators. One mistake would have meant instant death, but Amy did not make mistakes. Her missiles hit the Scar ship's weapon systems. Explosions bloomed along the enemy's hull. The massive warship shuddered and began to list to one side. Direct hit, Amy called out. Their port weapons are down, Major. Richard smiled. These aliens had no idea what they were fighting. Human pilots, trained in Earth's gravity and atmosphere. They pulled G-forces that would kill most other species. Their reflexes were faster and their coordination was better than anything the peaceful galaxy had ever seen. The Defiance moved into attack position. Captain Morrison watched the tactical display as his ship's weapons locked onto the enemy vessels. Chief Walsh, target their engines and weapons. Morrison ordered. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Chief Tactical Officer Danny Walsh had been in the military for 15 years. He could place a missile exactly where he wanted it. His hands moved over his controls with the skill of a master craftsman. The Defiance's weapons fired. Missiles and energy beams struck the Scarn ships with surgical precision. The humans did not try to completely destroy the enemy vessels. They aimed for specific systems, crippling the ships without killing everyone on board. This confused the Scarn commanders. In their experience, space battles were simple. You tried to destroy the enemy before they destroyed you. The idea of showing mercy or fighting with restraint was foreign to them. On the surface of Serenity, Captain Zila received a transmission. The voice spoke in broken but understandable galactic standard. The accent was strange, unlike any species she had heard before. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Defiance. We received your distress call. Prepare your people for evacuation. Zila stared at her radio in shock. Humans, she had never heard of such a species, but they had come. They had traveled across space to save people they had never met. Thank you, she whispered into the radio. Thank you for coming. Morrison's voice came back, calm and reassuring. We're sending shuttles to pick you up. Can you reach the landing pad on the north side of your colony? Zephala checked her maps. The landing pad was 3 blocks away, but the Scarn raiders were everywhere. We in LT Unk and GTLL try, she said, as the space battle continued above. Human rescue shuttles began descending through the atmosphere. The pilots flew through weapon fire and explosions like it was nothing. They had trained for this kind of mission many times. Dr. Helen Ross was on the first shuttle. She was the Defiance's chief medical officer, and she had brought her entire medical team. With her, they carried equipment and supplies to treat wounded aliens. The shuttle landed on the colony's main landing pad. Dr. Ross and her team ran toward the communication center where the survivors were hiding. They moved quickly but carefully, watching for enemy raiders. Sergeant Mike Turner led a squad of human soldiers through the colony streets. They wore heavy armor and carried powerful weapons. Soldiers moved with practice efficiency, clearing buildings and securing the area around the landing pad. When the first Scarn raider appeared, Sergeant Turner was ready. The alien was 7 feet tall with a Hard shell and sharp claws, its black eyes showed no fear as it charged at the humans. Turner's rifle fired 3 times. The Skarn raider fell to the ground, its armor cracked and broken. The sergeant looked down at the alien with no satisfaction. He did not enjoy killing, but he would do it to protect innocent people. More human shuttles landed around the colony. Medical teams rushed to help the wounded while soldiers secured the area. The humans worked together like parts of a machine, each person knowing exactly what to do. Captain Zila and the other survivors finally reached the landing pad. They moved slowly because some of them were injured. The Cathari were amazed by what they saw. The humans were tall and strong. They moved with confidence and purpose. Their weapons were more advanced than anything the Galactic Council used, but what impressed Zafala most was their gentleness with the wounded. Dr. Ross knelt beside old Tashara, who had been hurt in the first attack. The human doctor worked quickly but carefully, her hands gentle as she treated the alien's wounds. "You're going to be fine," Dr. Ross said in simple Galactic standard. "We'll take good care of you." The battle in space was ending. 2 of the Skarn ships were crippled and drifting. The 3rd ship tried to escape, but Major Richards and his fighters were faster. They damaged the enemy's engines before it could reach hyperspace. Captain Morrison opened communications with all 3 enemy ships. His voice was calm but firm. "Skarn vessels, this is Captain Morrison. Your ships are disabled. Surrender now and we will treat you fairly. Continue fighting and we will destroy you." There was silence for several minutes. Then one of the Skarn commanders responded. His voice was filled with confusion and fear. "Who are you? What species fights like this?" Morrison smiled grimly. "We are humans, and we don't like bullies." The battle had been going on for 6 hours, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans fought with a combination of smart planning and fearless courage that left the Skarn commanders completely confused. Sergeant Rick Taylor floated in space wearing his heavy combat suit. Behind him, 9 other human soldiers prepared for the most dangerous part of their mission. They were going to board the damaged Skarn flagship and capture it from the inside. "Remember, we go in fast and hard," Taylor spoke into his radio. "These bugs are tough, but they're not used to fighting in their own ships. Stay together and watch each other's backs." The soldiers fired their maneuvering jets and flew toward the enemy ship. Skarn vessel was huge, but it had holes in its hull from the human attack. Taylor and his team aimed for the largest breach. Inside the Skarn ship, Commander Vexel tried to understand what was happening. The enemy fighters were faster than anything in his database. Their weapons were more accurate than should be possible, and now they were sending soldiers to board his ship. Vexel was 8 feet tall with thick armor plating and razor-sharp claws. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Scar Empire. He had never lost a battle, but these humans were different from any enemy he had fought. Taylor's team landed inside the Skarn ship and immediately came under attack. The alien corridors were dark and filled with smoke from the battle damage. Skarn warriors appeared from every direction, their claws clicking on the metal floors. Private Jenny Watson ducked as a Skarn raider swung its claws at her head. She rolled to the side and fired her rifle 3 times. The alien's armor cracked and it fell backward into the While the humans moved through the ship's corridors like they had been born to fight in space, their enhanced reflexes and training allowed them to outfight the Skarn warriors even in close combat. What should have been a suicide mission was becoming a systematic capture of the enemy ship. Corporal Dave Miller found the ship's main computer room. He attached a small device to the alien systems and began downloading their data. The humans wanted to learn about these raiders and find out where they came from. On the Defiance's bridge, Captain Morrison watched the boarding action through the cameras on his soldiers' helmets. He coordinated the entire battle like a chess master, moving his pieces exactly where they needed to be. Chief Walsh, target the second ship's weapon systems. Morrison ordered, I want them disabled but not destroyed. Chief Tactical Officer Danny Walsh had turned the Defiance's weapons into surgical instruments. He could place a missile anywhere on an enemy ship with perfect accuracy. The humans targeted key systems with precision, crippling the Skarn vessels without completely destroying them. This confused the Skarn even more. In their experience, space battles were simple. You tried to destroy the enemy completely before they destroyed you. The idea of showing mercy or fighting with control was something they could not understand. Down on the moon's surface, Captain Zala watched the rescue operation with amazement. Human soldiers moved through the colony like they owned it, clearing out the remaining Scar raiders with professional efficiency. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes led a team of combat engineers who were placing explosive charges on the Scar landing craft. The humans wanted to make sure the enemy could not escape from the surface. Charges set, Hayes reported. When we detonate those ships aren't going anywhere. The human medical teams worked without rest to save the wounded. Cathari, Dr. Helen Ross had set up a field hospital in the colony's main building. Her team had equipment that could adapt to alien biology in ways the peaceful galaxy had never seen. This one has internal bleeding, Dr. Ross told her assistant nurse Paula Green, but I think we can save her if we work fast. The delicate bird-like aliens were amazed by the humans' medical knowledge. Dr. Ross and her team seemed to understand alien bodies better than most galactic doctors. They worked with gentle hands but moved with the speed and efficiency of soldiers. Medical technician Alex Johnson carried a wounded Cathari child to the hospital. The little boy was scared and crying, but Johnson spoke to him in a soft voice. It's okay, little guy, Johnson said in simple galactic standard. We're going to take care of you. You're safe now. The child looked up at the tall human with wide eyes. Johnson's face was scarred from old battles, but his smile was kind and warm. The boy stopped crying and held on to the human's hand. Back on the Skarn flagship, Sergeant Taylor's team had fought their way to the bridge. They moved through the alien ship with weapons ready, their enhanced coordination allowing them to outmaneuver the insected warriors. Commander Vexel made his last stand on his own bridge. He was surrounded by his best warriors, but they were no match for the human soldiers. The humans fought with a combination of technology and tactics that the Skarn had never encountered. Surrender now and we will treat you fairly, Taylor called out in galactic standard. Keep fighting and we will destroy you. Vexal looked at the human sergeant with confusion. The alien commander was twice Taylor's size and covered in natural armor, but somehow the human seemed more dangerous. What are you? Bixo asked. What kind of species fights like this? Taylor kept his rifle pointed at the alien. Commander, we're humans. We come from a world called Earth, and we don't like bullies who attack innocent people. Skarn Commander had conquered many worlds, but he had never heard of this species. Earth is not in our databases. He said, that's because we're new to this part of the galaxy, Taylor replied. But now we're here and things are going to change. Bixo looked around his bridge. Half of his crew was dead or wounded. The humans had captured his ship in less than an hour. He had two choices: surrender or die fighting. He dropped his weapon and raised his clawed hands. I surrender, on the Defiance, Captain. Morrison received reports from all his teams. The boarding action was successful. The surface was secure. The wounded aliens were being treated, and, most importantly, no humans had been killed. Commander Lisa Brooks looked at her tactical display. Sir, the second Skarn ship is trying to run. Should we pursue? Morrison thought for a moment. Let them go, Commander. They'll spread the word about what happened here. Sometimes it's better to let one enemy escape so he can tell others not to make the same mistake. The third Skarn ship limped away into hyperspace, its engines damaged but still working. The crew would return to their empire with stories of the strange new species that fought like demons but showed mercy to prisoners. Dr. Ross finished treating the last of the wounded Cathari. She was tired, but all the aliens were going to live. Her medical team had worked for 8 hours without stopping. How many survivors? Captain Morrison asked over the radio. 37, Dr. Ross reported. 12 were in the communication center, and we found 25 more hiding in other parts of the colony. They're all safe now. Morrison felt relief wash over him. The mission had been a success. They had saved the innocent aliens and captured valuable information about the Skarn raiders. Captain Zephala approached the human commander. She moved slowly because her leg was injured, but she wanted to thank the beings who had saved her people. Captain Morrison, she said in careful galactic standard, I don't know how to thank you. You came so far to help people you had never met. Morrison looked down at the delicate alien. Captain, she was barely 4 feet tall and looked like she could be blown away by a strong wind, but she had fought to protect her people until the very end. We heard your distress call, Morrison said simply. Any decent person would have done the same thing. Zila stared at him in amazement. The concept was so foreign to galactic politics that she could barely understand it. These humans had traveled across space, fought a dangerous battle, and risked their lives for strangers. They asked for nothing in return. The galaxy was about to learn that the age of easy conquest was over. The Deathworlders had arrived 2 days after the battle. Captain Morrison found himself in a situation no human had ever faced before. The Defiance's main conference room had been changed into a meeting place for the first formal talk between humans and aliens. Captain Zephala sat across from Morrison at the large table. Her thin, feathered body looked tiny in the human-sized chair. Her large, dark eyes studied every detail of the room. Everything was so different from what she knew. The human conference room was built for beings much larger and stronger than her people. The chairs were heavy and solid, The table was made from metal that could support great weight, even the air felt thick and rich compared to what she was used to breathing. Commander Lisa Brooke sat next to Morrison with a data pad in her hands. She had spent hours preparing information about Earth and human civilization, but she realized they knew nothing about galactic politics or alien cultures. Please tell us about your people, Morrison said in careful galactic standard. We want to understand your situation better. Cephala took a small breath of the thick air. We are the Cathari. We come from a world called Vespahi. It has low gravity and thin air. We are a peaceful people. We mine crystals and study the stars. She looked at the star charts that Commander Brooks had provided. The location of Earth was marked with a bright red dot. You said you come from Earth, but that system is listed in our databases as uninhabitable. Lieutenant Colonel Gary Stevens, the ship's scientist who studied alien life, smiled gently. What does your database say about Earth? Cephala checked her small computer device. High gravity, thick atmosphere, dangerous radiation levels, extreme weather patterns, active volcanoes, poisonous gases. She looked up at the humans with confusion. How can you live on such a world? Stevens laughed softly. We don't just live there, we call it home. Earth is actually quite pleasant. By our standards. The words hit Zila like a physical blow. These beings were from what the Galactic Council called a death world, a planet so dangerous that no civilized species should be able to live there. Yet here they were, not only surviving but traveling between stars to help strangers. She looked around the room again with new understanding. The heavy furniture was normal for beings who lived in high gravity. The thick air was what they needed to breathe. Their tall, muscular bodies were built to survive on a world that would kill her people in minutes. Your home world would kill us, she whispered, and your moon almost killed us, Dr. Ross said as she entered the room. The low gravity made some of my team sick. The thin air required us to wear breathing equipment. Dr. Ross sat down and opened her medical files. But we adapted. Humans are good at adapting to new environments. What the doctor did not say was that by human standards, the moon's serenity was barely livable. The low gravity would weaken human bones over time. The thin atmosphere had almost no oxygen. The lack of magnetic field meant dangerous radiation from space. That the Cathari had built a successful colony there showed they were tougher than they looked, but they could never match human strength in direct combat. Communications Officer Pete Johnson joined the meeting with a new translation device. He had worked with the Cathari technicians to improve their ability to talk to each other. The language barriers are getting easier, Johnson reported. Their computer systems are quite advanced, different from ours, but very sophisticated. Engineer Sam White brought technical specifications for both human and Cathari equipment. The differences were remarkable. Human tools were built to withstand extreme conditions. Cathari equipment was more delicate but incredibly precise. Yuri mining equipment is amazing, White told Cephala. It can extract crystals without damaging them at all. Our equipment would probably shatter them. Cephala felt a small amount of pride. We have been miners for thousands of years. We developed special techniques to work with delicate materials. Morrison leaned forward. What can you tell us about the Skarn, are there more of them? Zephalas. Feathers ruffled with fear, the Scar. Empire controls many systems, they are. Raiders and conquerors, they take what? They want and kill anyone who tries to. Stop them. She activated her computer and showed them a star map, red dots. Marked Skarn territory, there were dozens of systems under their control. They have been expanding for 50 years. She explained, the Galactic Council tries to stop them, but the Council believes in peaceful solutions. They send diplomats and negotiators. The Skarn kill the diplomats and take more worlds. Commander Brooks studied the map. How big are their fleets? Each major system has at least 10 warships. Zephala replied, their main fleet has over 100 ships. They are much stronger than anything the peaceful worlds can build. Morrison exchanged glances with his officers. The Skarn Empire was larger and more dangerous than they had realized, but they had also seen how the raiders fought. The aliens relied on overwhelming force and fear. They were not prepared for enemies who fought back effectively. Dr. Stevens asked more questions about galactic civilization. He learned that there were over 200 known species in this part of the galaxy. Most of them were peaceful traders and explorers. Very few had strong military forces. What about the Galactic Council? Morrison asked, do they have armies? Zephala made a sound that might have been a laugh. The Council has peacekeeping ships, but they are lightly armed. They are designed to stop small conflicts between trading partners. They cannot fight a real war. She looked at the humans with growing amazement. Your ship defeated 3 Scar cruisers. The entire Council fleet could not do that. Navigator Sue Williams brought updated star charts to the meeting. She had been studying the galactic layout and trying to understand the political situation. From what we can tell, Williams said, this region of space has been peaceful for so long that most species forgot how to fight. The Skarn are taking advantage of that. Medical Officer Janet Clark entered with reports on the Cathari survivors. All of them were recovering well from their injuries. The human medical equipment had been successfully adapted to work with alien biology. The wounded are doing fine, Clark reported. But I have some questions about Cathari medicine. Your people seem to heal faster than we expected. Zephala nodded. We evolved from flying creatures. Fast healing helps when you might fall from great heights. The meeting continued for hours as both species tried to understand each other. The humans learned about galactic trade routes, political alliances, and the complex relationships between different alien races. The Cathari learned about human history, technology, and the incredible challenges of living on a death world. They began to understand why humans were so much stronger and more aggressive than other species. On Earth, everything tries to kill you, Morrison explained. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the ground itself. We had to become tough to survive. Zila thought about her own peaceful world with its gentle breezes and calm seas. No wonder you fight so well. You have been fighting your entire lives. As the meeting ended, both sides realized they had much to learn from each other. The humans had military strength that the galaxy desperately needed. The Cathari had knowledge of galactic civilization that the humans required. What happens now? Zila asked. Morrison looked at his officers, then back at the alien captain. Now we take you home safely, and then we figure out how to help this galaxy deal with The scarn problem, Zephala felt hope. For the first time in days, these humans were not just powerful warriors, they were good people who wanted to help others. The galaxy had been waiting for someone like them for a very long time. Outside the conference room, the crew of the Defiance prepared for the journey to the Cathari home world. They did not know it yet, but they were about to introduce the galaxy to a new kind of power. The age of easy conquest was ending. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they came in peace. 3 days later, the Galactic Council peacekeeping fleet finally arrived at the Serenity system. Admiral Vex Hun of the Altari Confederation commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Crystal Dawn. The elegant ship was built from living crystal that grew into beautiful, flowing shapes. Admiral Vex Hun expected to find either a destroyed colony or an ongoing battle. His crystal-based species moved slowly but thought deeply about every problem. They had been the galaxy's peacekeepers for over 1,000 years. Instead of destruction, Vex Hun found human ships providing help to Cathari refugees. The alien vessels were strange and blocky compared to the graceful designs used by galactic civilization. They looked like they were built for war rather than exploration. I am Admiral Vex Hun of the Galactic Council, he transmitted to the unknown ships. Identify yourselves and explain your presence in this system, Captain. Morrison's voice came back clear and calm. Captain Jake Morrison, representing Earth and the Human Defense Coalition. We responded to a distress call. The word Earth caused immediate alarm on the Council ships. Admiral Vex Hun's crystalline features shifted from blue to deep red, which meant extreme concern among his people. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Vex Hun said carefully, intelligent life cannot evolve under such dangerous conditions. Morrison looked at Commander Brooks and smiled slightly. Well, Admiral, I'm afraid your classification system might need some updates. What followed was the most important moment in galactic history. Admiral Vex Hun, along with representatives from 6 different species, requested permission to visit the human ship. They needed to see these Deathworlders for themselves. Captain Zephala joined the delegation. She wanted to watch as other species discovered what she had learned about humans. The conference room of the Defiance was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. The Altari were tall and made of living crystal. The Bandari looked like walking trees with many arms. The Cans were small and furry with huge eyes. The Nexari had blue skin and could change their body temperature. The Karathi were slug-like beings who moved by sliding along the floor. All of them stared at the humans with a mixture of fear and amazement. This is impossible, said Representative Colton of the Bandari. His tree-like body swayed as he spoke. No species can evolve on a world with gravity 3 times normal levels. Engineer Melissa Grant demonstrated human capabilities by lifting a piece of equipment that weighed 300 lb. She picked it up with one hand like it was a small box. The alien representatives gasped in shock. On Earth this would be considered light work, Grant explained. Our children could lift objects this heavy. Pilot Major Tony Richards showed them human reflexes by catching small objects that the aliens threw at him. The items moved too fast for most species to even see, but Richards caught them all without effort. Your reaction time is impossible, said Dr. Nexi of the Keelans, our best pilots cannot track objects moving that quickly, Commander. Brooks brought out environmental data. From Earth, the numbers on her screen made the alien delegates fall silent. Surface temperature ranges from -40 to +50 degrees. Brooks read atmospheric. Pressure 14 times standard galactic. Norm, oxygen concentration toxic to most species, regular seismic activity. Active volcanic systems, severe weather patterns including hurricanes, tornadoes and blizzards, representative. Yilmer of the Nexari checked the data. 3 times, these conditions would kill every known galactic species within hours. How do you survive? Dr. Ross smiled gently. We don't just survive, we thrive. Earth has taught us to adapt to any environment. She showed them human medical data. The aliens learned that human bones were 5 times denser than normal. Human muscles were packed with more fibers than should be possible. Human organs could function under extreme stress that would shut down other species completely. Your people are living weapons, whispered Admiral Vexin. Morrison's expression became serious. We prefer to think of ourselves as protectors. Yes, Earth made us strong, but it also taught us to value life and help those who cannot help themselves. Engineer Sam White demonstrated human technology. He showed them tools that were forged at temperatures that would melt most alien materials. Human manufacturing processes used pressures that would crush normal equipment. Your technology is designed for extreme conditions observed. Engineer Telvin of the Karathi. Even your basic tools are stronger than our military equipment. The most shocking demonstration came when the aliens learned about human food. Nutritionist Karen Davis brought samples of common Earth foods to the meeting. This is what we call chocolate, Davis explained, holding up a small brown bar. It contains several compounds that would be poisonous to most galactic species. She offered other examples. Coffee with its dangerous caffeine, spicy peppers that contain natural toxins, and fermented foods that would cause illness in alien digestive systems. You eat poison for pleasure? Asked Dr. Nexp in amazement. Davis laughed. What's poison to you is seasoning to us. We evolved eating things that would kill other species. The revelation continued as the aliens toward the human ship. They saw humans casually working in gravitational fields that would crush most beings. They watched human technicians handle equipment at temperatures that would cook alien flesh. But what truly shocked the galactic representatives was the humans' attitude. These beings evolved on a world of constant danger and violence. Were the gentlest people the galaxy had ever met. Captain Zala spoke to the delegation. These humans saved my people when no one else could reach us. They fought the Skarn not for profit or territory, but because we asked for help. She showed them video recordings of the rescue mission. The aliens watched humans risk their lives to save beings they had never met. They saw human medical teams working for hours to treat wounded Cathari. They could have ignored our distress calls. Zafala continued. They could have demanded payment for their help. Instead, they came immediately and asked for nothing in return. Admiral Vexin found himself facing a complete change in how he understood the galaxy. The emergence of Deathworlders should have been terrifying. Beings evolved under such extreme conditions should have been conquerors and destroyers. Instead, these humans seemed to be exactly what the peaceful galaxy needed. They had the strength to fight the Scar Empire, but they used that strength to protect others rather than conquer them. What do you want from us, Admiral Vex? Hun asked Morrison directly. Morrison thought carefully before answering. We want to help. We want to learn about galactic civilization, and we want to make sure that peaceful people like Captain Zephal's colony never have to face raiders alone again. The Admiral's crystalline body shifted to a warm golden color, which meant hope and acceptance among his people. The Galactic Council would be honored to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Representative Colleton of the Bandari agreed. Your people could teach us much about defense and protection. We have been helpless against aggressive species for too long. As the meeting ended, Captain Morrison received a formal invitation from the Galactic Council to send human ambassadors to their capital world. The age of human isolation was ending, but it would begin not with conquest or colonization, but with friendship and mutual aid. Word would spread quickly across the galaxy about the Deathworlders who cross space to save strangers. Soon distress calls throughout known space would carry a new hope. Somewhere among the stars, the humans were listening, ready to help those who could not help themselves. The Scarn Empire and other aggressive species would learn that the galaxy had new protectors. The age of easy conquest was over. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they fought for justice rather than glory. As the human fleet prepared to escort the Cathari survivors home, Captain Morrison looked out at the stars and wondered what other peaceful peoples might need their help. The galaxy was vast, but humanity would do its best to make it a safer place for everyone. The universe would never be the same again.